What's going on, guys? PlotArmorCards in the house, and today I'm coming to you with my Ancient Gear deck build. Now, this is probably one of my favorite archetypes, so I like to put a lot of love and support into this deck. So, with that being said, if you like what you see, please like, comment, and subscribe, and let's take a look at the cards. So, first of all, I like to run 3 copies of Ancient Gear Golem. Next, I also like to run 2 copies of Ancient Gear Golem Ultimate Pound. Now, I know the ratios with this are a little bit weird. Some people like to run 3 and 3. Some people like to run 3 of these and 1 of these. Some people like to run 3 of these and, 1 of these. And I've seen a million different combos. But it's just whatever works best for you, right? Next, I like to play 3 copies of Ancient Gear Wyvern. Now, this is a must-have 3 of in this deck. This card's effect is really, really good. Its effect is if it's normal or special summon, you can add 1 Ancient Geared card from your deck to your hand except Ancient Gear Wyvern. You also cannot set cards for the rest of this turn. You can only use this effect once per turn, blah, blah, blah. So you're only concerned with adding to your hand. So this is really, really dope because it lets you add monsters to your hand, and that pops off a bunch of fusion and other combos. So you want to make sure you have 3 of these in this deck. Next, I also like to run 3 copies of Ancient Gear Hunting Hound. Ancient Gear Hunting Hound is also really good because it counts as a poly. So if it's a normal special summoned, if it's a normal summon, you can inflict 600 damage to your opponent, and then you can use it as, if you don't have a poly or anything in your hand, you can use this as a poly actually to fuse off your monsters. Next, I like to play 3 copies of Ancient Gear Frame. Summon 3 of these. So Ancient Gear Frame's effect is you can discard 1 card to add 1 Ancient Gear Golem or 1 spell or trap that specifically lists the card Ancient Gear Golem in its text from your deck to your hand. That's the effect that I like to care about the most. Actually, the card that I like to add using it is Ancient Gear Fusion, which we'll see in a little bit. Ancient Gear Fusion is the main fusion card of this entire deck, and this is really dope searcher for it. Next, I like to run 1 copy of Ancient Gear Box. Ancient Gear Box is dope because its effect is if this card is added to your deck or graveyard to your hand, except by drawing, you can add 1 Earth Machine type monster with 500 attack and or defense from your deck to your hand, except Ancient Gear Box. So what I like to do is I like to summon this thing, Ancient Gear Wyvern, and then I can special summon, and then I can add, Ancient Gear Box to my hand, and then that allows me to add this as well, and then I will usually have enough cards in my hand in order to pop off an Ancient Gear Fusion and summon my boss monster, which we're going to see soon. Next, I also like to play 3 copies of Ancient Gear Beast. Now, this card isn't too great. It's just here because it's an Ancient Gear monster. I know the field spell allows it so it can be summoned normally, so that's a good thing. That's why I use this as opposed to like Gadgetron Dragon or something. But I wish Ancient Gears had more support. If there's going to be new support coming out, I would for sure be replacing this card. Maybe limit it down to 2 or maybe 1. Next is I like to run level 10 trains as well. I only like to run 2 of these. So I like to run 2 copies of Super Express Bullet Train. This card's effect is pretty dope as well. Its effect is if all monsters you control are Earth machines, and all of them are, you can special summon this card from your hand. And so that's really good because it lets you go into XYZ summons, as we'll see. Also, for the trains, I like to play 2 copies of Heavy Freight Train, Dairy Crane. Its effect is if an Earth Machine type monster is normal special summon to your field, you can special summon this card from your hand. And that's great too. So if I normal special summon an Earth monster, I can then special summon this, and then I can special summon this, and then I can pop off XYZ summons on the side while still going off with my Ancient Gear cards. So it's just a nice way to get lots of different monsters on the field. Next, we're going into the spell cards. For the spell cards, the first thing I like to play is Ancient Gear Fusion. Gear Town. Gear Town is the field spell that is used in this deck. And then we also have Terraforming that searches Gear Town. So Gear Town's effect is both players contribute summon Ancient Gear monsters with 1 less tribute than required. So that's why that works really well with, let me pull it up, Ancient Gear Beast. So this will just essentially be a normal summon if you have this on the field. And then secondly is the effect I like the most. When this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 Ancient Gear monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard. So that effect is what you really, really need, and you'll see I'll go through how to destroy it very easily, and then you can special summon a bunch of monsters to get your fusions off as well. So next, I also like to play two copies of Ancient Gear Fortress. I unfortunately was not able to come across a third copy, otherwise I would be playing 3. I would definitely recommend you play 3 of these, but I only have 2, so I play 2. Its effect is, during the turn, they were normal special summoned. Your opponent cannot target Ancient Gear monsters you control with card effects, and they cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to the activation of Ancient Gear cards and effects. Now, this is really good because most of the Ancient Gear cards have immunity to traps and or spells depending on the monster, and the one thing that they are lacking is just monster effects. So this kind of helps with that too. But the second effect is also really good. If this card is destroyed in the spell and trap zone, you can special summon 1 Ancient Gear monster from your hand or graveyard. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except Ancient Gear monsters. So it's really dope for just popping off your combos and searching monsters. Next, I like to play 3 copies of Ancient Gear Catapult. Now, this card is how you're going to destroy the field spell and Ancient Gear Fortress. So its effect is, while you control no monsters, you can target 1 face-up card you control, destroy it, and if you do, special summon 1 Ancient Gear monster from your deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. So this is how you're going to bring out... You can bring out essentially any Ancient Gear monster you want, but I prefer to bring out Ancient Gear Golem because our next spell that we're looking at is Ancient Gear Fusion. And its effect is, if you control an Ancient Gear Golem on the field or an Ancient Gear Ultimate Pound, you can then use monsters from your deck as fusion material, which is really, really dope because then essentially you don't need to waste the materials in your hand, which is really good. But secondly, this thing's effect is... you can banish this card from your graveyard, target 1 face-up card you control, destroy it, and if you do, special summon 1 Ancient Gear token. So if I control, let's say, a fortress or the field spell, I can then banish this from my graveyard in the future, and then I can special summon a token, and then pop off more combos in the future. So that's also a very, very good card. That's why I run 3. I also personally like to run 3 copies of Ancient Gear Fusion. Ancient Gear Fusion, super dope, just like we just discussed. I also like to run 1 copy of Overload Fusion. I only run 1 of this, but its effect is, remove from play from your side of the field or for graveyard fusion material cards that are listed on a Dark Machine fusion card, and special summon that 1 fusion monster from your fusion deck. This special summon is treated as a fusion summon. So this is really dope, but the side effect for this is banishing, and in this deck you don't really have a way around. Like, if your cards get banished, you're probably not going to get them back, you know? So that's why you want to be careful. That's why I only play 1 of these. I also like to play 2 of Urgent Schedule. Urgent Schedule is really dope because this effect is, if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower and 1 level 5 or higher Earth Machine monster from your deck in defense position, but negate their effects. So I can special summon level 4 or lower. I usually like to go, obviously depending on the situation, it could vary, but I like to summon Ancient Gear Wyvern, and then for level 5 or higher, I'd like to summon either this, or I like to summon, if I can find it, or I like to summon the other level 10 train. Because the Ancient Gear monsters, Ancient Gear Golem and Ancient Gear Golem Ultimate Pound, they can't be special summoned. So they can only be special summoned unless it's specifically with an Ancient Gear card that says ignoring summoning conditions. So that's why we have a couple of those in this deck. Moving on, I have a couple 1-ups left in the main deck. I like to run 1 copy of Monster Reborn. For obvious reasons, I like to bring back certain monsters, pop off more combos. I like to run 1 copy of Harpy's Feather Duster. But I'm thinking of switching this Harpy's Feather Duster for something like Dark Ruler No More. It's actually more useful because the one weakness I would say this deck has is monster effects. So Dark Ruler No More, as we know, negates monster effects. So it's pretty dope for just removing monsters on the field. This will obviously remove spells and traps. And then lastly are my trap cards. I don't run too many trap cards, I just run the 1. I like to run 1 copy of Ojama Trio. Now, this is a really good combo with the boss monster, as we'll see in a little bit. Its effect is, you can special summon 3 Ojama tokens with 0 attack and 1,000 defense in defense position on your opponent's side of the field. The tokens cannot be tributed for a tribute summon, and when the Ojama token is destroyed, the control of the token takes 300 points of damage. So it's a pretty good way to just, 1, clog your opponent's field, and then secondly, as we'll see with the boss monster, it works really well as well. So moving on to the extra deck, I like to run 3 copies of Ancient Gear Howitzer. Now, Ancient Gear Howitzer is really, really good in this deck as well. It just takes 2 Ancient Gear monsters, so it's just general. You can use any of your Ancient Gear monsters to pull up a fusion. It's unaffected by other cards' effects. I usually like to summon this in defense mode when I do summon it. During your main phase, you can inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent, so 1,000 right away, and then you can use this effect once per turn. If this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one Ancient Gear monster from your deck, ignoring its summoning conditions, which is really, really dope. I like to personally summon this, inflict 1,000, put it in defense mode, wait for it to get attacked, and then I will summon my Ancient Gear Golem, because it's ignoring summoning conditions, so that allows me to summon it. And then usually my opponent isn't able to get over it because 3,000 attack is still kind of high. So, and then it sets me up for next turn. And then also you can destroy it with your own combos as well. I like to play 3 copies of Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem. Now, Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem is pretty dope as well. Its effect is, so it takes Ancient Gear Golem plus 2 Ancient Gear monsters. So it must be fusion summoned. If this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing. If this card attacks your opponent, cannot activate spell and trap cards until the end of the damage step. So this is really dope. Does piercing, obviously, yeah, it's unaffected. So it's always good to summon if you can't summon out the boss monster right away. I only own 1 copy of this next card, Ancient Gear Megaton Golem. It just takes 3 Ancient Gear monsters. But in the perfect world, I would probably be running 2 of these and 2 of these. I would not be running 3, just so I have a proper balance. I would also probably be running Catapult, Verte, Anaconda. I would probably reduce these to 2 and then be running a Verte Anaconda just so I can fuse right away, you know. But those aren't cards I happen to have right now. So next, I like to play my boss monster, 2 of Chaos Ancient Gear Golem. Now this card is your OTK setup. This card is amazing potential. Its effect is it takes 4 Ancient Gear monsters. Must be fusion summoned, cannot be special summoned any other ways, unaffected by spell and traps effects. Your opponent's monsters cannot activate their effects during the battle phase. This card can attack all monsters your opponent controls each once. If this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing to your opponent. So that's why it really works well with Ojama Trio, because I can summon the tokens, which have terrible defenses, and then just attack all of them, and then piercing, piercing, piercing. And then I'm sure my opponent will have monsters on the field as well. Usually that's enough to just put an end to them. Next, I like to play just a single Link monster, Ancient Gear Ballista. I don't think you're going to need more than 1 of these. This is really good. It just takes 2 Earth Machine monsters, so you can even use your level 10 trains if you really wanted, so not bad. Next, I had run a couple XYZ monsters since I run level 10 trains. I like to play 2 copies of, I suck at pronouncing this, is Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max. Its effect is you can detach a material from this card and inflict 2,000 damage to your opponent. So this is also another OTK combo when combined with this card. I only have 1 of these right now, but I would also try running 2. I would have to edit my ratios a bit. Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Juggernaut Libe. I'm terrible with pronunciations, guys. But it takes 3 level 11 monsters, or once per turn, you can also XYZ summon this card by using 1 rank 10 machine XYZ monster. And then you can transfer the materials. Once per turn, you can detach a material from this card. It gains 2,000 attack and defense. For the rest of this turn, you can declare an attack. You can only declare an attack with this card during each battle phase. This card can make attacks on the monsters equal to the materials it has. So it's also a dope combo. So if I detach a material, inflict 2,000, and then this effect will give it 6,000, and I can attack all the monsters. Usually, it's definitely another OTK combo right there. Not bad at all. So guys, that was all of it for my Ancient Gear deck. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. And oh my goodness, look at the time.
It's time to do